Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Broadway veteran, singer, and songwriter Susannah B. She grew up in Manhattan in the cradle of creativity with very well-connected parents that loved art. She talked about her 2020 project Girl Gone Wilder, singing Alec Wilder. Lush, Timeless Jazz Standards Reimagined with Wit and Groove. We talked to her on May 21, 2020 during the COVID-19 quarantine to discuss what has been going on. We covered some ground, so enjoy.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for taking a minute out. I won't take too much of your time today. I'm just kind of trying to capture some of the essence of artists that are, living through the COVID-19, the strange David Lynch world we're in. And then, what's
cool.
that?
I just listened to one of your other interviews, so I'm ready.
All right, good, good.
You and your deep questions.
Well, good. That's what we do. We try to get to the essence of everything here. So
yeah,
let me begin here with, we all kind of found out, it was almost as though, I know this is a different thing for New Yorkers, but I was in Venice when this happened, when the second plane went into the World Trade Center. We're going to look at March 12th and 13th as that moment. It's going to be this collective time where we were all like, okay, this is all going to change. This world that we were living in, we're going to have to adopt. BC is going to have to become before coronavirus. And so my question is this: when did you know that we were going into that moment where things were canceled, things were changing, and we weren't going back?
I think I kind of realized it at the same time a lot of my other friends were realizing it. It was sort of almost like things were in slow motion, I feel like. I was reading about it in the paper beginning of March, and actually I was planning, I had organized this spring break trip with my teenage kids and my husband. We were going to go to Costa Rica, and it was this, dreamy trip we've been planning forever. And I even called the travel agent, and I was like, I don't know about this. And she initially was like, well, no one else is canceling except you. I was like, really? And, within 10 days, Costa Rica was closing its borders. So it hit everyone, I think, in the face. I think it was a surprise to everyone how complete it was. But, yeah, we had tickets. My family and we were going to go out to the desert and see tennis like we always do every year. And the entire tournament was canceled, and that was kind of huge. Just these huge gatherings. My son, Coachella, all those type of things, having those types of tickets, and all of a sudden those plans are gone, But I think it just sort of dawned on me that weekend that everything, the tickets for the tennis got canceled, and that was mid-March, and then just more and more of my friends, we started talking and saying, wow, this looks like it's getting more serious. And I have two friends who are in the medical profession, and one is an acupuncturist, actually, and doctor of Chinese medicine. So she'd been talking with people in China. And she was the one on a Zoom happy hour call with me and my gal pals. And she really, was saying, you have to take this really, really seriously. And then another doctor relative said that, too. So, I live in L.A., so we've been under, kind of city-wide orders.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've done a lot of interviews since this happened. I had to kind of make a decision in the beginning of kind of how my brain was going to operate in this. And I think it's really good to talk to musicians and kind of get some ideas of what's going on. And I've been doing this since yesterday was about 2 months. And yesterday was the first time I interviewed a musician that contracted COVID and came back and went under quarantine. And, the one thing is that they didn't get the lung issue, but they're a horn player, and I think that's probably one of the strongest organs in their body. So, but, I don't think, I think the verity of this is pretty stark. But, I think one thing, too, is releasing material during this time might be unique for artists. So talk to me a little bit about what you've been working on and kind of, just kind of open up a little bit about, releasing material during this time means the listener probably has more time to listen to it, but you can't do anything live with it.
That is very true. Yeah. And I released my music just sort of at the end of last year, mid to late last year. So I was just wanting to start my live tour. I was planning a little mini tour to Texas, and I was going to go to New York this year, and some other areas just to do little, weekends of concerts here and there. And all of that completely went away. But I do think that I think it's important to just take what comes and try to make the best of it. I've been trying to not put on myself that I have to create every single day or any of that stuff. I think most artist people are, kind of being gentle with themselves. But I also know a lot of people who are using music and singing in particular to really to heal, to feel inspired, to feel uplifted, to actually use it as like a wellness tool, which is one of the things I'm really into.
The one thing too, a lot of this, it's unique because the whole world's going through this, so we're all going through our own level of trauma. No matter how optimistic or pessimistic, we're coping with this, and it's almost as though there was one musician that said at one point, like, we're all going through a disease together. Like, we're all, it's like, it used to be that thing where you flip on Jerry Springer and you're like, man alive, at least that's not happening. Now you turn on Jerry Springer and it's like, we're all going through that, and
right.
So I think the thing about this is that we all right now, as in anything that would be tough, get a draw on good memories and good things that have happened in our lives. And especially as a musician, you've had lots of journeys and lots of different people that you've been around. What memories, what magic moments might you be, honing in on that's really kind of you're drawing strength from right now?
Well, I must say that it took me a long time to kind of embrace my identity as a singer. I sang when I was a kid, but I grew up as the daughter of professional singer-songwriter, and my mom was pretty successful, and I grew up in New York City with lots and lots of successful, writers, and not like celebrities, but creative and Broadway writers and songwriters. And so I was focusing on acting. I wasn't going to be a singer. And then about 10 years after college, I started waking up and having melodies in my head, and just my musical life sort of happened despite my own avoidance of it. And I don't think I've ever really gone back. I will never go back to the me who didn't sing for 10 years, because I've found that singing really connects me to my inner soulful essence. And it's kind of a spiritual concept, but it's like, it feels like it connects me to something that's bigger than I am. So whether you want to call that God or spirit or creativity or whatever, it's just a little bit magical and a little bit something that I have to kind of let go and relax into. And I think most musicians would say that. You kind of get into a flow. Certainly jazz musicians, especially if they're improvising, you kind of have to take a ride, I think. And I've been going back to, I go to my singing when I need to just change my mood, when I need to get out of a funk, or, which is obviously easy to be in these days, it's so overwhelming. But I do have places and friends and an interest in, singing anything for wellness, to make ourselves feel better. And I'm really interested. I know I've been having friends do these online singing things, group singing things, which the technology isn't really there yet. We can't sing in real time together on Zoom because of the delay. So you have kind of all mute, and then you have one song leader who's singing along to the record or whatever, or a recording of the choir in rehearsal. But I'm a member of a couple different choirs, and we've been singing together, and then I took an online singing class, and I had a lot of homework, and I had to post a lot of videos of myself doing, singing different things and mimicking singers. And I just noticed that when I sing as a daily thing, just like exercise or anything else, it really keeps me uplifted.
The one thing, too, that I always find interesting is that when singers or musicians get off stage, they're like, oh, my God, this was wrong, this was wrong, this was wrong, that was wrong. It almost seems as though you are always adaptable to what's going on around you. Would you say that's pretty spot on for what's happening with musicians right now? I mean, this is a unique situation for everybody, but I mean, for musicians, is that why you think there's levels of innovation that have not gone away?
Yeah, maybe that's true. There's a kind of a flexibility built into the lifestyle and the path of the musician, I think. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm lucky, you know, I have a certain kind of security in my life. I'm not worried about, you know, where my next meal is going to come from or my paying my rent. But I have other friends who are musicians who really are worrying about that. So I think there's a whole range of experiences, and I certainly wouldn't want to say mine is the same as other people's. I feel really lucky, and I've been looking around a lot at all the opportunities I can find to support other people at this time. I mean, I really think if you have anything extra, whether it's money or time, my vision for myself this past year with this, my latest project, which is the jazz album, Girl Gone Wilder, I was inspired by the composer who I was covering. All the songs are by this guy, Alec Wilder, who was big in the 30s and 40s and 50s. He had some family money, and he was known as being this incredibly generous guy. He just gave money away all the time. He paid for people's tuitions at the Eastman School of Music in upstate New York, where he didn't really attend, but he kind of hung out and took some classes. And he literally, like, just gave money to poor students who didn't, you know, have money to buy groceries, or just these legendary, fantastic stories about him going around a restaurant and, like, picking up every single person's check in the restaurant and paying the bill. And I just was so inspired by that I decided all of my live shows that I did last year and then that I was going to be doing this year would go to support a variety of charities. Because I have enough that I don't have to make big money from my music. You know, my music's sort of self-sufficient. I make enough that I can, like, put out another album. And so I just decided I'm going to, you know, really focus on that, and made a performance space in my new house that we moved into not long ago, my husband and my kids and I. And we haven't gotten to use it or have any benefits yet because obviously we're in this different time. So now we have to rethink, you know, okay, well, what are some other ways that could work? Obviously people are doing, you know, like performances in their living rooms and kitchens. I just watched Norah Jones yesterday playing in her living room, and, you know, Sean Colvin's strumming guitar in her living room, and Sheryl Crow. It's cool. But I'm not a great, like, instrument player. I'm mostly a singer. I play the voice. And so I do need to kind of have other people around me more. So I just been fooling around with different guys from my band, just like, you know, we're working on some tracks, and then eventually I'll just go into a studio and, you know, we'll find a safe way that I can just go in a vocal booth and record. But for now, we're just kind of setting up some tracks.
So, you know, we're going to get to the end of this, and we're going to perform live again. My question to you is this: what do you hope both musician and the audience realizes from this time away? That what do we get from this absence of live jazz?
Well, I think that all music in general will really appreciate the communal feeling that we get when we're in an audience, you know, and we're all witness to a certain performance, or, you know, if I'm the performer, which I like to be, you know, that feeling of performing in front of a live audience it's like one of a kind. It only happens that one time, and live is different than, you know, filmed. Feeling that energy in the room when people are playing music or singing or whatever is something really special, and I bet we will really appreciate it more when we can get back to it. But I think what I want to have changed is, I guess, so appreciation, you know, of the moments that we have, but also, I don't know, the thing I'm really, really getting at this time is that we really are all connected. Like, this is a global thing. The entire world is dealing with this disease. And so there's no question that we are connected as a human race, right? And I just think that's really important to continue to remember, because then that takes you to the next step of, well, we're all on this planet together. So we're all sharing the planet, and how do we want to behave in the future to, you know, preserve the planet for everyone, and just looking at the world more as a whole, looking at our humanity as our connectedness, and finding ways to step forward into the future, you know, with that in mind. Like, we have to change up some behavior, human behavior. And I think, I do think, like, this is a really amazing kind of tragic and yet possibly really important and innovative break in our, continuum. It's like history's like stopped and we're turning right. And I think there's going to be new leaders. There's going to be a new generation taking over. I'm expecting big changes, honestly, post-pandemic.
Yeah, I agree, totally. So my final question to you is this. Everyone has a perception of you, your family, your friends, your fans, that you are the one living your life. Who do you think you are?
When you ask that, it's so funny. Who do you think you are? Like I keep hearing it like a cartoon or something.
Like the cartoon gangster, yeah.
Who do you think you are? I think I am just one of an infinite number of ways that Spirit, the divine, God, whatever you want to call it, this invisible thing that I believe in, I think I'm just one of the many, many infinite ways that it shows up. And I think, honestly, that we all are just like me in that way. And we're all completely unique. We're all expressing in our unique way. And my way of expressing is pretty multifaceted. I've never been an artist or someone who people could really kind of pinpoint the genre. I do a lot of different kinds of singing, pop music, electronic, jazz, and I write scripts. I'm writing a TV series right now for myself and my friends. Like, I just do a lot of things, and I've been really lucky in my life to be able to do that and have that urge and have the luxury to express it. And so, I think I'm a musical kind person.
Right on. Well, since you talked about the questions and getting into it a little bit, I'm going to add one more. That was supposed to be my last one. I'm going to ask you one more. So
no
you
problem.
have a dream. Yeah. You have a dream tonight, and you run into your younger self, like when you were starting out, and you can give your younger self one bit of advice. What would it be?
I think it would be exactly what I just said to you on the previous question. I think it would be, hey, you know what? You are not just one thing. You are many different facets of a beautiful diamond. You're all different sides of it, and don't get too attached to one side. Like, it doesn't have to be acting, or it just doesn't have to be this way or this way. Like, don't get caught up in trying to plan how your life is going to be. I would say to my younger self, just let go, and just kind of like we talked about before with improvisation and singing and jazz and music, let go and kind of take the ride, honestly, and trust it's going to be okay, and pay attention to what people do, not what people say, and, and live as good a life as you can, full of as many good deeds as possible, because good deeds feel really good.
Right on, Susannah. Hey, thank you for taking some time out today. I appreciate it.
Sure, thank you. I really appreciate it, Joe.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest singers and songwriters in Los Angeles, New York City, Kansas City, and spots all over the globe, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Susannah B for her time, cool, and stories. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.